Hello, chefs. Good evening. We are back again. I am Isaiah, the young Jedi chef, here with the Dragon Warrior chef, German Lamb, and we will be your host for today's podcast. You are listening to a unique podcast where we will discuss tough yet real topics that need to be heard in the industry. In this podcast, you will hear the truth, real, raw, and unfiltered. Today, we have the honor of having Chef Ragnar, the managing director for the World Association of Chefs, with us to talk about the impact that we have as chefs on the world. I'm excited to get started and jump right in. So without further ado, I will let the star of our show, our guest, Chef Ragnar, introduce himself. Chef Ragnar.
Hey, Isaiah, German, great to see you, and thank you for having me. So, where to start? I'm Ragnar Friedrichsen. I'm managing director of the World Association of Chefs Societies, as you said. We call it World Chefs. So it's an association of associations in 110 countries. Well, I've been in this industry for since I was 18-year-old and done so much in different things. And yeah, I'm passionate about this industry and really happy to be here with passionate people. So
Thank you, Chef. Great introduction. I'm so excited to get started. So young, old, black, white, Democratic, Republican, gay, straight, we all are different in our own way. And there are many things in this world that have the power to divide and separate us. In this world, there are many conflicts, many wars that break out, nations, republics, and even everyday people. Although in this world we are so divided ethnically and culturally, the one thing that brings us all together is food. As chefs, we have the responsibility to selflessly make change and impact in the world through our food. So this will lead us to our first question. This question is an open question, so any of the panelists could answer. What impact do you believe that you have on the world as a chef? And what qualities must you have to hold the title as chef?
who jumps in first?
Anybody could jump in, Chef Ragnar.
I'm very happy to answer that.
Of
I
course.
mean, qualities you must hold to have the title as a chef. I think being a chef, it's all about transmitting. And I mean, I've spoken to so many chefs. I did a book with chefs talking about their inspiration, where they come from. They got that transmission through it was a mother, a grandmother, a father, what have you. And what you need to do as a chef is like you have to go through your whole career and say, well, I've learned all this from my mentors. My goal is to give it back. So I'm transmitting knowledge. So that for me is a great chef.
Yeah,
And
for
what do
sure.
you think?
Yeah, Chef Lamb.
Well, you know what? Just listening right there. So I always say, as a parent, mentor and mentee, you give and you take. But for today's generation in the culinary hospitality, there are some challenging times. So in one way, I look at it is just like like a parent. You got to be firm. Communication has to be clear, and there's also have to understand what consequences are when you cross that line. So for me, wearing this white jacket, I always say this, there's 7 things that I learned from the industry. One is respect, sanitation, safety. Those 3 things before you can even put on the white jacket are very important. The other one would be body, mind, spirit, and food. Why? Because we are in an environment culture. We are constantly moving. We're an athlete. We're constantly staying. Our eating habit are not the best. So in one way, you got to figure out how can you educate your team members and say, hey, so they could be successful, down the road. And also we learn from each other.
Yeah, and I like what you said about respect. The jacket holds so much power behind it. When we wear this jacket, it kind of resembles that we have respect for our food. We have the respect for the people that we're serving. And there's so much that this jacket resembles. And I think that shows even through like food films and everything. Like the chef in the kitchen, he has the power to kind of impact everyone that he's serving. So I think I really love what you said about respect, chef. So thank you, chefs, for that insightful advice. One big advantage that we have as chefs is that we have the power to create bonds between cultures and people that normally would not coexist. I believe that each culture brings their own flair and style to the table. And oftentimes we learn the most from people that look different from us. So this is going to lead us to our next question. What do you think is so important to travel and learn different cultures and their cuisine? Is there a dish that has stuck with you that you learned from another culture? Chef Ragnar?
Hey, yeah, I mean, back to, because you like importance of travel and learn from different cultures, representing chefs in over 100 countries. I can really tell you that, you know, that is probably my biggest blessing, is to have that opportunity to unite, connect chefs from different countries. I want to jump back to the first question we didn't really address. So, what, like, as a chef, what impact can you have on the world? You know, and this is, you know, when you travel, you meet colleagues, you create bonds, and what you see is that, you know, food is actually what you said is what unites us. And, you know, I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story because it has a quite a strong resonance today. A few years back, back in 2014, I traveled to Israel, and from there into Palestine by invitation of the Israeli Chef Association. And had a ceremony, an event where we they created the Palestine Chef Association. And during that event, we held a competition where there was one Muslim chef and one Jewish chef together in a team against team of other chefs. There was mixed Muslim and Jewish. And so they had to work together and yeah, create a dish that you know, that they could both identify with. And hey, I can tell you, nothing is easier to identify with than food. And like through food, we you know, we can create bonds, we can create peace if we just sit down and share, break the bread together. It's a really strong peace message. So I wish you know, I wish more people would like the chefs. Use your knives to make beautiful carving of steak, but not to hurt each other, you know.
Exactly. And I definitely agree with that. Like, food, sitting around the table, it's something about the camaraderie when you sit around the table and share food with others. It's even like nations could be divided, and when you come together around food, problems get solved. Same thing with families, come around food, and you know that you have the important discussions. So I think we have so much power as chefs, and their experience as diners could change based on what they're getting from us. So I think, like, being a chef is such a great thing, and you have so much power. Chef Lamb?
Well, you know what? Working at the Ritz-Carlton Boston Hotel, the kitchen was international. I mean, you're talking about, you know, sous chefs who are European. Then you're talking the team, the cooks, you know, the backbone. We were diverse, and it was so beautiful. And to me, I call it family meal, and family meal was probably the best, because someone would make it just for a snack, and you could tell all of us had our heads down. So for me, when you're talking about what dish, I would say, hey, you know, you take pasta. Instead of using tomato sauce, I use sesame oil, some oyster sauce, and some what we call it, oyster sauce, and add some vegetable, and people are like, wow. So for me, it's like learning from each other. And then from there, it's like you're showing the love of the food, because when you're cooking for your mates, and especially your coworkers, you cannot BS. They will tell you if the food is amazing, or they can say, I'm sorry, I'm putting this in your trash. So to me, right there is, you know, sharing with cultures. And for me, we don't have to speak, even though if we can't speak the language, that's our taste, our flavor. And when you look at the plate, it shows you can't, you know, you can't be a shoemaker, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah. It's true. I mean, I feel really when I've been asked, because when we travel around, we get invited here and there. People ask me, like, it must be really hard to cook for other chefs, you know, when you're invited like that. But I think, like, the basic thing to do, and I said, it's really easy. Just cook your honest local food, what your mother would have cooked for you, and we're gonna love it. Because you know, it's all about the sharing. Don't try to do something fancy that is not in your DNA. Don't try to, like, if you're a Moroccan chef, don't try to like, oh, he's come from France, now I have to make a Paul Bocuse cuisine. No, 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 no. Give me your local Moroccan dish, and we're gonna love it because that's what your mother taught you, and that's like that's what is in your DNA. So
exactly, yeah, I gotta agree with you, Chef. I believe mom's cooking is the best cooking. The home cooking is kind of because it's kind of where you started to fall in love. At least with most chefs, it resonates where you fall in love with cooking is that first interaction in the kitchen with your parents. You know, helping them make dinner. So that's kind of where the love starts. So I think that's kind of where the best food is. And when you take that out and put that into restaurants and elevate it, that's where you can become very successful. So that's a really good point that you made. So so as chefs, we're often very prideful people as chefs. So it's important to kind of put your ego to the side as a chef. This could get in the way of creating great dishes, and sometimes it's crucial to kind of drop it to learn from others. So what advice do you have on setting your ego to the side in order to learn from others, Chef Ragnar?
yeah, hey, I don't want to give people any life lessons here, but definitely, I mean, I think German mentioned earlier, respect the people around you and what they can bring to you, and I think it's so important is to be open to what others can bring to you. Otherwise, you're just going to be locked up in your own ego. No, we often say like, yeah, chefs have great egos. It's for me, like having interviewed and spoken to many chefs around the world who are Michelin star chefs, come very far in their career. Sure, they have a character, maybe a temper at times, but really, I don't see what like sometimes media displays the chef as somebody shouting and throwing pots and pans around. For me, the best chefs in the world, they really don't work like that. They are extremely focused and calm and respectful to their team members, and they manage their team, the brigade, like their family, and it's it's just very good leadership to be able to put your ego aside and create a team around you.
Exactly. Yeah, I couldn't agree more than with that, Chef Lamb.
Well, you know what? I look back at it when I took martial arts. So one way I use the analogy, chef and a master in the arts are pretty much the same, because what do? We teach how to position the body, meaning how to move every part, and far as using your eyes. In the kitchen, it's about using the nose, right? Your smell, using your gut, your inner core. And to me, when you talk about ego, respect is so important because respect, safety, and sanitation, those are the core in our industry wearing the white jacket. So I always say you could tell an amazing chef by just basic skills. And from there, then you could tell whether the chef is going to open his mind, open his heart, and suddenly just share, technique, preparation methods with you. So to me, I work with chefs, and some did, some didn't. So for me, I learned, but then I learned, for me, all I know is I take whatever I'm learning with my eyes, with my mouth, with tasting, how to correct something, and from there, that individual who's learning from you is a sponge.
Yeah, exactly. And I guess to piggyback off of that, what is one of the biggest lessons that you've learned from one of the chefs that you worked for? Like, what has, I guess, one of the biggest things that they have been able to teach you and that has stuck with you throughout your career?
Ragnar, since you're the guest.
You go ahead, Jamin. Go ahead.
All right. So Ragnar said something about parent, and there's one thing that I learned was love. And I did not get that from the chefs. They taught me techniques, preparations, and methods. They taught me how to make a amazing terrine, pate, charcuterie, coq au vin, duck confit. But my parents are the one that taught me what love is when you're cooking. So it's not cooking, Wagyu beef or foie gras or this, king salmon. It's just any ingredients that is in front of you. And can you take that and, like what Ragnar said, make something so simple that, when you taste it and you serve it to someone, they fall in love. So to me, that is my benchmark. You know, that is my style that my parents taught me. And when I cook and teach, that's what I look for. And if that individual could actually display that, then I know that chef, it's going to be an amazing chef. But if that person doesn't experience that love, like I don't fall in love with you, then that person has some emotional, right? Emotional. Love is emotional, physical.
Exactly.
So it's very, you know, you can't touch it, you can't feel it, you can't hug it. It comes within, and that takes maturity, and that takes time, and that takes great mentors. So that
Exactly.
would be my you know, answer to you there, Chef
I love
Isaiah.
it, Chef. I love it. And I definitely feel you could feel the love through the food. If you're cooking and you don't have love for it, it's not going to come out the same. Like even in times where I haven't felt the best and I've been cooking the food, it's not what it should be. But when you have that love and you have that passion for it, that's something really you can't teach. It's just something you have to, you know, have. So I love what you said about having that love for it. So Chef Ragnar?
No, I think German said it really perfectly, and I mean, it's what comes from within, and through my career, especially when you're young, you have people that they put barriers for you. They can be bastards with you, but there have been people in my career, thankfully, that that mentored me, that supported me, that and they motivated me to be a better person, to do the same to others. So it's a good circle of love that we need to motivate and empower others to
Yeah,
comes from
definitely.
with real German.
Definitely. Yeah, it starts from within, and then just the love it magnifies and spreads to everyone. So to wrap it up, I know connections are super important, and I know Chef Ragnar, with you being connected with so many people, I know understand the importance of it, and you know a lot of people. So uh how can how can you leave your impact on someone? Why is it so important to maintain that connection with somebody personally? Chef
Yeah, I mean,
Ragnar.
yeah, I get in our profession or in our personal life, we're always growing, and it's the people around us that that help us grow.
Mhm.
And I mean, associations are a great place to start professionally. Is for young chefs, we have our congress coming up in 2024 in Singapore with a young chef forum. We're going to have hundreds of young chefs from all over the world there.
Mhm.
So they're going to be meeting other colleagues from other parts of the world. It's a great opportunity for networking, for friendship that lasts their whole life. And I mean, I can tell you a very specific example of like how it can bring a person's life. As a young guy from Iceland who went to a congress in New Zealand, participated at the Young Chef Forum there, met a lot of great guys, and they became really close friends. Through that friendship, 3 months later, he was working at a 3 Michelin-star restaurant, the Fat Duck in England. So if you don't go out and you don't connect and you don't keep that connection and nurture that connection, you're just gonna be stuck in your place. You need to reach out, and once you do, actually you see the reward personally and professionally.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree 100%. Yeah, maintaining that connection is so important, and it even helps you within your career. Like Chef Lamb, a great mentor of mine, and the reason why we're able to have this great relationship is because maintaining that connection and staying persistent, and I think that's one of the biggest things. So, Chef Lamb.
Well, you just said it right here. You know, the young Jedi, the Dragon Warrior Chef. It's
There you
something
go.
that I see in our industry that I just imagine if every veteran chef out there, you know, took a handful of mentees and think about our community would be in an amazing place for today in our generation, and think about our labor force. So for me, it's, you know, think about Chef Isaiah and myself, right? There is a gap, right? There is a 40-year age gap between us. And it's amazing that, you know, we created this podcast together of actually, you know, talking about themes that no one else in our industry has even talked about. But then I realized you have to find the yin and yang. And when you find that, oh my God, it is just beautiful, you know? And we have amazing guests like Ragnar, to support us and to share the story with us. But to me, it's the same thing, right? You always give, but then you always learn. So to me, I got to say, this is an amazing opportunity. And for all our listeners who listen to this right here, this is a jump starts you.
So I kind of have a fun question. So if you could make dinner for anybody in the world, any one of your people, I guess you look up to, or anybody in the world, who would you make dinner for, and what would you make? Chef Ragnar?
Hey guys, I would make dinner for you two guys, and
Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I would love that.
I will do a nice rack of Icelandic lamb, maybe a bit of like a gravlax, like cured salmon to start with, and a nice rack of Icelandic lamb with my gravy, like my grandpa used to do on Sundays.
Oh,
And
okay. Yeah, that sounds really good. I'll take that right now.
caramelized carrots and onions, and there you go.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Chef Lamb?
Well, you know what? I would say this. I would take all the white jackets in the world, and we come together. We go to the farmers market and see what's seasonal, what's amazing, what's price effective. We take those ingredients, and each of us would take one ingredient. And from there, we build together. So I call this ratatouille. Why? Ratatouille is an amazing dish that I love. And why? Because it depends what the season is. And that's something that I learned at the Ritz. So to me, a foundation of tradition, but now creating something that is the hybrid of thinking and thinking outside the box. So for me, instead of me cooking, is we cook together with love. And to me, that is going to give the chef that passion and commitment where they had, but sometimes that light kind of dims down. So we always need to be resetting our love for cooking.
Yeah, I love it. And I love what you said about each chef brings their own thing to the table, because that kind of like wraps up this whole discussion. Is everybody has something to bring in, and it's important. And as chefs, that's how we express ourselves, through our food that we create. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So I really like how you wrap that up. So I just want to thank everybody for being a part of this call. Thank you, Chef Ragnar. It really means a lot. I know the people listening to this call are really going to be impacted, and not only them, but the people that they are surrounded with will be impacted as well. So this is a really big deal. I thank you guys so much for listening. And I can't wait to see everyone on the next call. Thank you guys. Have a great day.
Thank you, Chef
Ragnar.
Thank you.
A lot of love there. I love to see your connection there. So I'm really happy and glad to be a part of that. And so anytime.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.